Welcome to Random Conflux, where today I don't know.
We're going to be talking about our speculations and opinions on the new Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire trailer. The one that just dropped that shows off a lot of stuff in it. If you haven't seen the trailer, please, before listening to this video, go check it out. It's on Legendary's page.
We got me, John.
And I'm Zach.
And I'm Matt.
Yes. Now my speculation is Godzuki's finally going to appear. Because you have Baby Kong, so you have to put on Godzuki to go with the Baby Kong.
But they could have a young Godzilla, for all we know. Maybe the reason why this Godzilla is pink is because it's actually a female and it's pregnant and we're going to see eggs.
Yes.
I don't know, okay? And I know that sounds very genderist to call, oh, it's pink, it must be a girl. But at gender reveal parties, the boys are blue and the girls are pink. And I'm not talking about all the different genders and things that go on in the LGBTQ community and so on and so forth. I am by myself, so that is not what is on here. We got no issues there, okay? All I'm talking about is this could be a completely different Godzilla. It could be another male, okay? But it was shown frozen in ice. And unless the show, Legacy of Monsters, ends up saying why Godzilla would be frozen in ice, unless it ends up saying that, okay, then we know it's a different Godzilla. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to just wait and see. But there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack about this trailer. So, Zach, why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, because I'm lost. I see the trailer, and everything you said made absolute sense to me.
Okay.
That's not the part where I'm lost.
What are you lost about?
I'm lost on the fact that they have never once in the entire franchise, as far as my memory, have ever mentioned a female Godzilla.
And that's the thing. And I was actually just talking to Zach about this off mic a little bit earlier. Okay? Mm-hmm. If you go into the official Godzilla compendium that was released back in the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. I've got it upstairs. I can't remember. I think it was late 90s because it was before the TriStar Pictures Matthew Broderick 1998 film. Yeah, so it was in the 90s. Okay. They talk about, there's a whole chapter talking about whether Godzilla is male or female. Okay, why are they treating it one way in one movie, one way in another? Some of the dubs they say it instead of he or she. Most of the movies refer to Godzilla as a he. I refer to Godzilla as a he. But I mean, the 98 movie postulated that Godzilla could be asexual, with Zilla being asexual in that movie. So it's quite possible that, Godzilla is asexual, and we just don't know it. But they clarified in the MonsterVerse, which this Kong X Godzilla, Godzilla X Kong movie, comes from, that Godzilla was part of a species. And typically when you have a species, you have males and females. Mm-hmm. Okay? So there's a very possible chance that we're going to end up seeing males and females of Godzilla.
Unless you're a clownfish.
Exactly. And then again, that's something where you can switch when you need to.
Yeah. Asexual, basically. Which Godzilla could be, too. We don't know.
No, asexual means you're both.
Yeah.
Clownfish literally are one minute, one the other minute, just like certain frogs can be.
They are normally born male.
Mm-hmm.
And then they change gender if there is no female person. Mm-hmm. There's usually one that's born absolute female, but they can just change sex like willy-nilly.
Gives a whole new meaning to Finding Nemo.
Exactly. Like, for just to get off topic for a moment here, there's been a lot of things with the Finding Nemo, and how, like, if it was real life, Mr. Dad,
it would have been, we don't have to go.
Mom.
Exactly, yes. But needless to say, we can get away from that because that's a whole other thing to unpack.
But what if the scouts on the dorsal spines, or whatever you want to call them, are actually the way to tell the gender of the different versions of Godzilla.
Exactly, and it could very well be that.
Or it could have been that, or it could have been like the way he's been absorbing the energy. He probably had that much energy built up. Maybe it turned pink from...
Like, for instance, so in the first movie, he barely had fire, okay?
Yeah.
In the second movie, he had increased fire and absorbed a low-yield nuke at point-blank range. Then he also became Burning Godzilla, absorbing Mothra's power. Then in the next movie, he exhausted a lot of his power in his fight with Kong and Mechagodzilla, but he got exposed to the energy from the Mechagodzilla, which was an aberration of his energy, and now he's being exposed to the energies of the inner Earth. So, all of that taken into account, yes, it could just be, like a lot of YouTubers are assuming, an evolution of his energy.
Yeah.
Okay? And if it is, I'm fine with that. I don't mind any of the things that we said so far being what happens. So.
But from the trailer, they show a scene where Godzilla's sleeping.
Yes, he's frozen in ice.
Wake him up.
Exactly.
And his scales are pink.
Yes, the spines on his back were glowing pink. And who knows so far what the reason for that is. And until April, when we go to see the movie, it's going to be uber speculation. Okay? It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome to talk about. I hope they don't end up pushing the movie back for whatever reason, now that the actor and writer strikes are over. Thank goodness for that. But, needless to say, let's talk about the other one on hand. Specifically, Kong's hand. Okay? We see him with the axe early on, but then later on when Godzilla and Kong are running together, the axe is gone, and now he's got this big mechanical yellow and gold gauntlet on his right hand. Now, his arm could have been damaged, the humans could have tried to help repair it, but a friend of mine postulated something. You know how in there we saw an an under-earth civilization that had a bunch of gold and pink glowing energy and diamond everywhere and stuff like that, or crystals or whatever? There was a lot of gold there. What if that was a race that worshipped Kong's people and they had partial armor or something prepared for him or knew how to help fix him?
Well, that's another thing. Like in the beginning of the trailer, it shows that glove coming up out of...
And that's Kong. That's Kong with the glove on his hand.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the trailer, it shows Kong running, and that glove is on his right hand, bracer, whatever you want to call it. Almost looked like a Hellboy fist, kind of. You know?
It also sort of reminded me of Thanos' gauntlet.
Yeah, kind of, but there was no gems. Yes, because Kong's just going to start snapping things away, right?
Well, you can imagine, like, he's a big giant ape. Maybe he's Thanos in disguise.
No. But yeah, so I mean, that's. I thought that was really cool. Something else about the trailer, I love the giant wolf monsters that were chasing Kong. That looked really cool.
That was cool.
So that's another kaiju. Also, something that wasn't in the trailer that on Twitter they confirmed at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong, towards the end when Kong is running towards, like, he's sensing something, and he's in the inner earth, and he's running towards what he ends up finding is his throne and where the axe is and all that. He passes a large Gila monster type creature that's, like, compared to him, small, but it's, like, bigger than a tank to us, okay? And it was in one frame, and it was eating a big bug, okay? Apparently, that Titan name, it was called Titanus Doug. Okay? And they have confirmed on Twitter, even if it's just a cameo, Doug will be in this movie. So we get to see Doug again.
Now, what's Doug originally from?
Nothing. Oh. It's just something they made up.
Okay.
It was like maybe 5 seconds of a...
Yeah, it was a very short clip that while we're talking, I'm just going to show you his picture. Because it was just a very short clip that was silly, and he looked very cool. You just type in on Google Doug Monsterverse, and he pops right up, and it's him just eating this, like, bug or weird little animal thing. And that's him. That's Doug.
That's funny.
Yep. I'm showing them right now. But yeah, so a lot of people said, "Oh, that's a young Godzilla," and
wait, does he
go
to high school and have a best friend named Skeeter and a girlfriend named Patty Mayonnaise?
No, stop it.
It kind of sort of has that 5 of like a younger species of Godzilla.
Yeah, like for example, in the Godzilla King of the Monsters comics that were done by Dark Horse Comics back in the 90s, in, I want to say, issue 16 or... No, it was a special issue. But anyways, in one of the later issues, okay, they postulated that Godzilla naturally evolved and wasn't just a irradiated beast, that he evolved from nuclear times. So that at times when the planet was irradiated with nuclear energy, which is true, they're called Precambrian times. There was no oxygen and there was nuclear energy everywhere before nuclear energy existed. Because it's true, it did exist. We got records to show it. If you believe what science says, we can prove it. But anyways,
well, there's scientific proof that there's still radiation near the poles of the Earth.
Yes, exactly. So anyways, that he evolved from that, and they show a picture of something that looks very much like Doug. So maybe they got inspiration from that. Okay, and that's like a callback to those comics. So I think that's kind of cool.
Me putting a little bit of science into this, like you were just doing, but getting back more to the radiation, natural Earth radiation, that's how the magnets work in compasses, and the radiation at the poles help as a natural magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
And if something was in that area for long spells of time, I would go as long as saying since the development of Earth. If something was just hibernating there,
like Godzilla sleeping,
sleeping, it would explain why he's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And well, the transportation could explain why he's somewhere else, like obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you would have a natural affinity to that radiation because your body evolves to help adapt you to survive in the area that you spend the most time in.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say as humans, the more time we spend in colder climates, the more we start adapting to those colder climates.
Mm-hmm.
Same with warm climates. If you're majorly associated to a warmer climate,
Mm-hmm.
then therefore your body is associated to that warmer climate.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
So what if Godzilla has been in that is in that situation,
Okay.
in the sense that could explain his natural affinity for radiation, that could explain the plates on his back, plus that could give him a reason to have, like, when he goes to charge up, those plates, they're either absorbing natural radiation on their own,
Or they're generating it.
or they could be generating it as like a camel,
like an organic nuclear reactor.
or like how a camel has a hump on its back
Yeah.
where it can store water for years.
Yes, like for example, you just remind me of something. This actually calls back to another video that we just recorded about Godzilla -1, and I went off on a tangents and a bunch of Godzilla facts, but you reminded me of something. In the 90s films, they said Godzilla's heart is a nuclear reactor. His heart is a living nuclear reactor. So if that's the same thing in this one, okay, in the Monsterverse, that his heart is a nuclear reactor, those plates could be the storage areas. You know, in a nuclear reactor, if you've ever seen a picture of it, you've got the rods going down, okay, and then the reactors in the bottom under the water, okay. That's
Like
the
dorsal spin, the dorsal fins on his
are the rods.
are literally attached to his heart.
Exactly, and that's why they are porous in the skeleton that we saw, they're porous because there's nervous system and blood and everything connected to the heart from it. I mean, this is all nerd speculation to the best of our ability because we're nerds. But
plus, I like science.
Exactly. So
that said, we were pretty close in our Power Rangers theories.
Exactly about cosmic
purity. You
purity.
also have to kind of see in the limelight if they were going to bring some sort of science into the realm of possibility to explain Godzilla more than they've ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's say they are a way of storing energy.
Mm-hmm.
Or filtering, sort of like how solar panels absorb the solar radiation from the sun and stores it into a battery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then you flip a switch and the power comes on in your house.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And with Godzilla, what if those spikes on his back, the slates on his back, are actually sort of like solar panels?
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't matter like where he's at, frozen, hibernating, underground, as long as he can get some sort of radiation one way or another, instead of his body actually absorbing it, it goes around his body and trickles into the slabs on his back, and then gets pumped into his blood and his nervous system, and then it gets into his heart, where all of a sudden it can just sit and linger.
Mm-hmm.
Which would cause his heart to be a nuclear battery, just storing all this nuclear energy until he needs to use it in a sense.
So the spines kind of act like photosynthesis, like the leaves do on a plant, where they absorb the energy.
Yeah.
Yes, but without most of the will of the object.
Yeah. Now, here's the other thing. Something else that can help explain away the color of the breath. In the movie Shin Godzilla, which is part of the Reiwa era of movies, it's a more modern movie, Godzilla's breath starts off as fire, literal like fire with black smoke in it, and suddenly focuses to a point and becomes a thin, bright white and purple beam. When you look at fire, it starts off orange, red, yellow, okay? And then it gets white, blue, purple. Fire at its hottest is purple. What if they're working their way up to purple and they just decide to go pink for something different, something striking?
Well, actually, the highest version of fire is transparent.
Well, okay, yes, you're correct. You're correct. But the hottest visible spectrum is purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those that are science nerds like I am, just like Matt explained, fire at its intensity burns the air molecules around it at such a high temperature that you see it in a color. Because that's the, how do I explain it? When fire burns, it burns the air molecules like how plasma would be an accelerated version of gas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a solid state of gas. And fire is more or less plasma.
Mm-hmm.
It's a living version of plasma instead of dead plasma, which is just a fancy way of saying it's an uncontrolled version of plasma.
Okay.
Solid plasma, being like lightning, is obviously a different color than a regular campfire.
Mm-hmm.
But you constantly have to keep feeding that campfire.
Mm-hmm.
So it can keep going and yada yada yada. But lightning it only has to activate once. But it burns all the air molecules within that strike.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of a controlled strike, if you say. It has a start and an end, but it burns everything in that path. So it has to have a creation point, but
an endpoint.
No, an attraction point is what I was trying
Yeah,
to
like for instance, when they slow down, like to the millisecond shots of lightning actually starts at the ground, which a lot of people are still blown away by when they were able to get those slow motion cameras to do it, because the electrons start building upward, and then they start building downward, and it meets in the middle, but it starts at the ground. And that blows people's minds that lightning actually starts at the ground, but because of how they burn, we see it go from top to bottom, but it's not actually that. It goes so fast. So
Now, don't go into lightning storms because of this, but there's actually been stories of people like unable to walk and stuff like that. They get struck by lightning. It resets the nerves in their bodies, and they're able to walk again.
Yeah, please don't go into a lightning storm.
No, don't try it. This is like a 1 in a million
You can probably
thing.
test that with a taser to the back of your neck.
No,
and don't do that either.
But
Don't do that
nobody's going to suggest to do that.
No, I'm just saying, like, this is not like one of those 1 in a million stories that I've heard.
Getting back on the topic of Godzilla X Kong, okay, something else that was cool was that baby Kong.
Oh, it
Oh
was.
yeah, baby Kong for the win!
That's why I made
That
the
was
joke
cute.
about Godzuki, which I surprisingly didn't do in the last Godzilla video. But
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, that looked really cute. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because he's got the red fur. I'm assuming he's related to the red-furred Scar King that we saw. Also, that challenger that the way the posters keep showing rise to your new, bow to your new king, and they show his picture and his bloody handprint, and he's got that. I don't know if it's a spinal column or a tail from a Godzilla, but he's got something wrapped around him like a bandolier. And I wonder if he's going to like whip that out and use it as a weapon maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
I think that'd be really awesome, but we'll have to wait and see. And
one thing
maybe
I
he's the son of that. So
one thing I caught was the color of the face paint on Kong.
Kong doesn't have face paint.
Or was it the orange guy?
The orange guy, he had a dark skin, but his eyes were blue. And the reason that blew my mind is because his eyes were the same color as Godzilla's energy, the blue energy. And I'm wondering if maybe this Kong has some kind of control over the natural energies of the inner Earth that they revealed in Godzilla vs. Kong.
It's possible.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be crazy?
No, I was getting back at the one of them was wearing face paint.
I don't remember seeing face paint.
It was either I'll let you go back and watch it, but I could have swore I was seeing one of the Kong people wearing face paint, and the face paint matched the scales on Kong's back.
The scales on Kong's back?
Yeah, the plates on Kong's back. Not Kong.
Godzilla's
back.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Kong has scales on his back now. Just
I stand corrected. We watched the trailer again. We have it paused on the screen. The Scar King, as they call him, or the Red Kong, with that spine or tail or whatever it is wrapped around him, possibly as a bandolier or weapon, he does have this red face paint coming down in an upside-down Y over his face.
cool. That is awesome.
Yes, that is awesome. Which he's also on doing the red handprints. So,
Which, to me, and it's just from the second that I see it, but now that I have it on the screen, I see a lot more of the red, and like it's starting to look like it's turning into dry blood, so it's looking a little brown.
yep.
But his fur looks pink.
It looks red to me. That looks pink. The energy on Godzilla's back is pink. Lavender at its darkest, but pink otherwise.
Well, to me that looks like magenta, but
Everybody sees colors differently.
yeah.
And obviously those giant green crystals are kryptonite, so.
As per usual. No, it goes from like Godzilla having like cayenne blue eyes to having like magenta pink.
Yeah.
And it goes into that speculation: is it the same Godzilla?
Exactly. It could be like I said, could be a female, could be another male, could be a completely different Godzilla that's just been frozen for thousands of years, whatever. No matter what, it's going to be interesting. Now, I have heard a lot of speculation. I have heard a lot of crazy, wild theories. I don't want to talk about most of them, except for one theory that I know it's a long shot, but I would love it. This is just a theory. It has no true basis in fact. This is another Godzilla, whether it be male or female. They beat Scar King. Our Godzilla from the first 3 movies shows up. And these Godzillas face off at the end of the movie, like facing each other. Like there's going to be a fight, but then it cuts and we don't get to see it. And the next movie is called Godzilla Wars. And we finally get a movie with truly Godzilla versus Godzilla instead of just Godzilla versus Zilla like was in Godzilla Final Wars back in 2004. We get a true Godzilla versus Godzilla movie. Now that would be cool, but okay, the only reason why the theory said Godzilla Wars is because back in the 90s there was a toy line called Godzilla Wars that did a bunch of Godzilla figures. I used to own a bunch of the figures from it. I own the big, like 8 or 9 inch Godzilla upstairs from it. Okay, the green skin one, not the black skin one that they did. Black skin one was supercharged Godzilla. I never owned him, but anyways.
You own a lot of Godzillas.
Yes, I own, I think, 16 Godzillas or something like that. I'm not trying to like, oh, I've got so many. It's just that's how many I happen to have.
I'm sure there's larger collections, there's smaller collections.
Oh, there's tons of larger collections out there. You know, it's just I happen to own a lot of Godzillas. So just in the room we're sitting in right now, there are 3 in that window over there, with one of them being a Funko Pop. There's one sitting on the shelf over there. There's one sitting to my left on the table that we're at. And then back in the other room behind us, in the kitchen/sitting room, there's one in each of the windows there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, if given the option, you would own more, but you have a wife and kids.
Yes. Yes. But I've got a Godzilla on my front porch, and at least one Godzilla in every window of my house, and my wife is fine with that. Yes. So I'm cool.
Yep.
That's a lot of Godzillas.
Yes.
But
continuous.
Does it beat my Power Ranger collection? No, that's the question.
No, you got more Power Ranger stuff than I got Godzilla stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
Godzilla being awesome. You just had to put that in there.
Yeah, just random fact.
It would be cool to see the difference between a male Godzilla and a female Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
The female Godzilla has eyelashes and boobs. That's not. I'm kidding.
Shut up.
I'm kidding.
No
offense to anybody. It was a bad joke.
Mm-hmm.
In the trailer, it talks as if they really didn't understand about the world in our crust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're still trying to learn about it. They just discovered it at the end of the last movie. So they're still trying to learn about everything down there, you know? Still trying to discover.
But the whole, or the energy that forms the whole, is equivalent to the original Godzilla's blue energy, or cayenne blue energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what's making the whole? Is that Godzilla making the whole? Like, is that the regular Godzilla, the blue spiked Godzilla with the blue eyes? Or is another Godzilla from, like, the movie before it, with the little lizard thing eating a giant bug, was a baby Godzilla growing underneath the earth, and it tends to, like, maybe it realizes that something's going on, so it makes a way to the surface by blowing that blue energy to try to find a way to get help to the center of the Earth.
Who knows? We'll have to see on that one. I'm not exactly sure, but
That's speculation.
yeah.
But like, what caused it was it the scar-faced King Kong or Red Kong or whatever you want to call him?
One thing I did like about the Legendary verse, though, from what I've seen, like especially after the Godzilla versus Mothra movie, is that they learned that the creatures
Godzilla versus Mothra.
Or, no, the one that had Godzilla, Mothra, and King
Godzilla, King of the Monsters, where Godzilla fought King Ghidorah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But one thing I liked about that movie is they learned like a lot of the monsters that originated from Earth would actually restore the Earth if given like their devices and they kept them away from the cities.
Exactly. Now, here's something else. Something that not a lot of people know about. Okay, back in the 90s, there was a model company that made a model. The model was called Kongzilla. There was a short comic book on the side of the box, and the model was enormous. It was like stacked like 3 or 4 Xbox Ones on top of each other, and that's how big the model was. Okay? And the little comic said Godzilla and Kong fought each other. A scientist collected cells from their battle from where they had knocked off skin samples, and he mixed them together and made Kongzilla. Here's the crazy thing, okay? Last year, Legendary Pictures bought the rights to that model.
That's sweet.
So I have no idea if anything's going to come of it, or if they just bought it so that nobody else would do anything with it. I don't know why they would buy the rights to the model. That is nothing but speculation. All that I can confirm is that they bought that. That's it. That's all I can confirm. They bought the rights to a lot of stuff.
They bought the rights to Godzuki. I know I was joking, but that's actually true.
Yeah, that's true. They bought the rights to all the Hanna-Barbera monsters. They bought the rights to all the monsters from the TriStar Godzilla the series. They bought the rights to most of the monsters from Japan, okay, for Godzilla. And even though they still keep making their own.
Yeah.
You know? So, we'll see what happens.
Well, maybe they have an idea for like a Godzilla King Kong hybrid, but wants to make it like their own, and like maybe might want to use the original name that was already given to it, or might give it their own name for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I don't have anything else to say.
I'm good. I can't wait to see it next April.
Ditto here, and
I'm good. But what about Godzuki?
What we're going to do is not worry about Godzuki and make sure that you watch Godzilla vs. Kong. That's what we're going to do. Because you still need to see the movie before you see Godzilla X Kong. So guess what you're doing the next time you're at my house?
Okay.
Other than maid work. No.
It's true. He makes me dress up in a maid outfit and clean his house once a month.
Bow wow.
Okay, one more serious question, and we'll wrap up.
Okay.
What if Godzilla was like Kasumi, and King Kong was Bancho? Just let it fester. And until next time, I've been Zach.
I'm John.
And I'm Matt. And with that, I will close you out with my signature horrific Godzilla roar.